collapse. Because someone gets crazy. You can't trust every policeman with a gun. Neither can you trust every youth with a rock. Okay? Some people are crazy. They provoke each other, and a shot or two goes off. People die. People have died. For the sake of those people who died, about 30 people, I think, recorded, okay, who died last week, we should make sure that we don't give up on this country. We don't give up on the struggle that has been started in a very clean manner. The world was waiting. The world was watching and waiting for that situation to generate, because they never knew that in a black nation it would happen, that people will go on the streets, articulate their position, intelligent people will come out and say, this is what we want. The government will back down without actually saying to the police and the soldiers, open fire on everybody, and everything will return to normal. Now, this is a time for us to do good business in this country, while we're keeping a very serious eye on the government to ensure that the things that have been articulated for them are carried out. For example, if you ask me today, if there's any savings from dropping from 141 to 97, if there's any savings, I'm not convinced though, but if there's any savings whatsoever, that, like, you know, the one that they said they were setting up a short P for, which I think is a parallel government and is not necessary. If there's any savings and you ask Nigerians, where do we put this money? They may say, look, we may not want for now the Lagos-Kano rail. Build the refineries. Now there are too many models. There are 1,000 models of building refineries or any other infrastructure for that matter. The government can decide to finance it. The government can come in conjunction with, if Nigerian investors are not ready to go into it, foreign investors are ready to go into it. They should not mystify this refinery business. In the same, my sojourn in the UAE, there's a port called Jabal Ali. Jabal Ali port is a very big port. It's like maybe an Apapa port times 10 or 20. Okay, I've taken a few delegations from Nigeria there in the past. I was there like 4 times last year. And inside that port alone, they have 3 refineries, side by side by side. Now, refineries don't come as bogus as they used to come. You have to give it to the white man. This technology is always shifting. So maybe some of them don't do more than 10,000, 20,000 barrels processing every day. But they are refineries, for crying out loud. Nobody should also say that you cannot run a refinery business in Nigeria profitably. It's a lie. Now, if government wants to use our subsidy, okay, that subsidy that they're supposed to have paid us, to do anything, I would suggest, and I think most Nigerians suggest, that they use it to finance the building of refineries, okay? They can do it in a very
transparent... It's there.
See, we're not saying the Shopee is a program all over the place. They talk about they want to build the Lagos-Kaduna, this Lagos-Kano rail. They want to build Lokoja, Abuja. See, many of those projects which had been budgeted for before. And there's no way you can use 460-something billion to do all those projects. So people pick too many holes. People pick too many holes in the proposal. Okay. So I'm saying, before I land, please, in a single port there are 3 refineries, and in that entire country there are perhaps 20 to 30 refineries. So there's no big deal. You can set up the refinery, you can finance it, you can go in conjunction, you can subsidize that refinery. In which case, in 3, 4, 6 months' time, we will not be talking about subsidy again, because once the refineries are working, they will work in, they will work optimally. They will be able to churn out as much product as the people of this country want. I think that's the way to go.
Okay, at this point, let me call for comments from people watching us right now, your opinions and your contributions. Please go to facebook.com/ABC Money Show live and drop your comments there. But meanwhile, we have some comments here. This is coming in from Chibike DK. He says, what's next for government? Those young people who trooped out en masse to begin to consolidate on the gains and show government alternatives to more revenue to the government and hold government more accountable. Of course, okay, this is coming from Chibike DK. What do you think, Mr. Fasua?
Certainly, that is spot on. Spot on. I mean, you see, if someone gives you half a chance to be relevant, take it. I think that's what life is about. Some people resign to fate very easily. All of us here today, whatever you are, I don't know your history, Nancy, but what you took was half a chance to get on this show, okay, and say, look, I can do it. Let's do it. People, like I said, we blame our government for the same thing we're guilty of. And perhaps that's why they say that the people deserve the leaders they get, okay? If we don't know that what life is about taking half a chance, If anybody expected maybe the Jonathan government to totally collapse, they are joking. You know, because like I said, the CNNs of this world will not come back until the day it becomes a revolutionary rebel thing. And then they say, oh, now we're embedded with the revolutionaries. They're going to take over this town. They're taking over, like they did in Libya. It was on AIT yesterday or 2 days ago. I saw a news scroll by and say, militias clash in Libya, 2 dead, 40 wounded. I went on the internet and I Googled this news. I couldn't find it anywhere until I had to go to Reuters. I couldn't see it on Reuters. I clicked Africa in Reuters. I now clicked the map of Libya, and it was tucked somewhere down there. As we speak today, there are still wars going on in Libya, which the media has totally blanked out. I just pray that the Nigerian media will not copy the examples of those so-called international media, who would refuse to come and cover what went on in Nigeria,
okay,
at least for the world to see. But it is a war. It's not a war per se. It's a dialogue between government and the people. And I think both sides have been very reasonable in this instance, and we've achieved quite what.
Okay, Arua Tokolo is saying, what I don't seem to understand is this new price subsidized? One, or no more subsidy payment? Very good question. Because, okay, try and answer.
My take on that is that, well, the government says it's subsidized.
It's subsidized, right? Yes.
We say from the analysis that people have done, even the 65 was not subsidized. You don't understand? You see, people are saying that even the 65 is not subsidized. I'll give you another example from the UAE, which I'm very much used to. Fuel sells about 56 naira equivalent at the pumps. In fact, the first thing I said when I came here the last time was no one should demonize subsidy. Subsidy is the reason why governments exist. When you trace back the history of government itself, when you talk about Thomas Hobbes, when he talked about the origin of government, he talked about a time when life was brutally short and nasty, and when people took revenge, okay? People took revenge for slights against themselves. And then at a point in time, people felt it was wise to submit all their rights to the government and say, rather than take revenge on my own, let the government take revenge on my behalf. That is where the first subsidy you see, that is the subsidy of justice. So the subsidy of justice and everything, the government is there because it gives subsidy. The best investment the government can give is actually that subsidy. The issue now is where do you put it?
And the US is the king of all subsidy.
Oh, absolutely, and certainly. I mean, I don't have to go over Stiglitz again. People who have been asking me which book is that. It's called Making Globalization Work by Joseph Stiglitz. You know, yes. And it's, when you can't read that book and come and talk about how everything, subsidy should be removed. Of course, there are people they call neoconservatives in economics who believe that subsidy should be removed on everything. In fact, in the US now, they're talking about a regime whereby whereby even clean air will be priced, and people will pay to breathe clean air. In the US, they're talking about that. But the government of the US will not give them that much because a lot of subsidies still exist. In the US, food is cheap. In Europe, food is much cheaper than Nigeria. In the US, it's much cheaper. In the UAE, a bottle of water in the UAE, a big bottle of water costs 60 naira equivalent, 1 dirham 50. In Nigeria, it costs 200 naira. And we're saying that water is cheaper in the desert than in Nigeria, where there's water, what Fela said, there's water everywhere, what's also water for Africa. You know, but nothing to drink. So subsidy is the reason why governments exist. In that place, they don't do any subsidy in the UAE on PMS. It sells as 56 at the pumps because they have enough refineries to go around. That's what I'm saying. What we should be talking now is that government should get to a point where there's a lot of efficiency in that sector, such that even at so-called 65, we want to go down below 65. That's what we want to get to.
Okay, let's quickly...
If the sector is efficient, that is what we will achieve. Okay.